Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar&Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we're back with another episode of the Progressive World. So, as usual, I'm just gonna give a quick rundown of today's show. I might need your Sam. I'm sorry. I might need your help more than usual, Sam, to fill in some of the gaps. But let me start going. So, our first story is going to be on Jordan Peterson. I kind of made this remark about him, and some people in the comment section called me out. So we're gonna start with that. Then, of course, there's been some huge updates, some unfortunate ones in the case of Julian Assange, some better ones in the case of Stephen Donziger. So we're going to talk about that, and we have a lot of videos that go with that. So Roger Waters and Randy Credico, they were on and the Katie Halper show. Hassan and Vosh have made some comments, which we're going to mention, a lot more that I'm forgetting. Then Matt Taibbi did this typical 3-hour podcast on the Joe Rogan show. Plenty of things to talk about there. We're going to also use that to talk about Russia and link it to some other things Useful Idiots have been doing with Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper. So we'll be talking about that. Then we're going to move on to our progressive geopolitics segment. Sam, do you want to give a quick little rundown what's going to be there?
Yeah, sure. There is a beauty contest right now going on in Middle East, which has grabbed the attention of the whole region to itself. And there has been some real foul play, disgusting foul play in this beauty competition. There are, people who are responsible, and hopefully we get to talk about that. There is also some talks about, wars, potential nuclear stuff. And sadly, we have to talk about that stuff too.
Okay, good. And then we'll switch back to a little bit of fun, I guess, with Dr. Oz announcing his candidacy, which is, makes sense. Makes sense to me. And think about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much it. I'm really excited about the Jordan Peterson stuff, and we're going to talk more and more. Sam has watched quite a few videos on him, started reading his book. I've watched one or two, not too much. So Sam will be leading it. But yeah, so as per usual, we have timestamps down below. What are you going to say?
Just wanted, I will clarify that in the segment itself.
Okay, beautiful. So yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, let's get this party started, Sam. Okay, Sam. So I'm gonna get us started by reading this comment that Jack Mack left on our in a comment section. It's a very nice comment at the same time too. So he wrote, "Love the show, guys." So thanks again, Jack. But I would say that the bit on Jordan Peterson at the end exposed your bias pretty bad. You both admit to not really know anything about him, yet you talk so dismissively about a PhD and tenured professor at a prestigious university. Not saying professors and PhDs are always right, but actually might do some homework before dragging. And, I did exaggerate a bit when I said I haven't seen anything from Jordan Peterson. It's just most of the stuff that I had seen, I don't remember. Like yesterday, I recalled that I had watched one of his lectures, I think at University of Toronto, but perhaps 10 years ago. But Jack had it right. I would think about it. I've perhaps been exposed to an hour of Jordan Peterson, more or less. So you're totally right there, Jack. And then some people came to our defense, some didn't. You can see it here in the comment section. But I think that's a good way to get us started, Sam. So, Sam, you've been kind of into Jordan Peterson over the past week, no?
Yes. I've been into, before I get into Jordan Peterson, I just wanted to say, I think he was right pretty much. And the person who left the comment, and first time I did that because when I was a kid, everybody used to say Henry Kissinger is like this evil guy, right? Mm-hmm. And I never really knew anything about Henry Kissinger. But then, like, I was in a, I think we were in a pub or something, and I started like saying, yeah, he's a war criminal or something, and then somebody like said, based on what you're saying, that. And it's really, you should really do your homework before you start running your mouth about other people. So, I must say though, Jesus Christ, it's been a torturous week. And please, like this week was a pure torture for me on so many
But
levels.
he's
Like,
half
and
entertaining though.
Okay,
You don't find him
but
entertaining?
yeah, I've uh, yeah, but like if there is like, yes, it is entertaining, but like I need somebody. It has to be like mystery science theater. Like somebody needs to be sitting next to me to, make fun of him. Just me make fun of him on my own is a bit, but yeah, I watched quite a lot. I started reading Maps of Meaning, his I think first book, and I'm reading the 12 Rules of Life. I haven't read either of them fully, so hopefully this is our part one of a long series of discussions about Mr. Peterson. But yeah, it's been a tough week, man. It's been a tough week. Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be more into him after this, so I hope maybe go read a little bit of his books as well. But yeah, how do you want to get this started? What is there an overall argument you want to present first, like an overall feeling that you got from the reading and stuff that you've been doing, and then we can get it going?
Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say there is a 4-part debate between him and Sam Harris, and I watched one part and I was out, man. I can't do this. All right. So if people, again, I'm not willing to die on the altar of doing, full research. Okay. So that's where I draw the line. No, but that's just, I just wanted to mention some of the research I've done. First of all, Mr. Peterson looks like a genuinely nice man. He seems like a very nice and like he would be somebody actually somebody who's a complete dork would enjoy spending time with probably. He's interested in a lot of topic. Personally, I am interested in comparative mythology, comparative religions, and all that. But frankly, I think his writings are largely should be categorized as self-help books. They don't present me as anything more substantial than you would get in some of the most famous self-help books like Eat, Pray, Love, or Swallow the Frog in the Morning. What was that? Or Swallow the Toad, whatever that was.
Haven't heard of that one.
With and mix that with Jungian sort of type of thinking. And I think if anybody, Carl Jung, a student of Freud, who broke with Freud and sort of came up with his own psychological analysis type of thinking that focused on archetypes and focused on people play different characters throughout their lives and that type of thing, which in my view even Carl Jung's work and sadly became sort of, he went towards mysticism and it became a bit collective consciousness that is sort of exists among people and all that. So I think there's quite a lot of, to put it plainly, BS in there.
And which
you can be sometimes fun BS.
Sorry, yeah, no, for sure. And do you think he wouldn't have a problem with you saying that, he kind of writes like, your typical self-help book? Would he, that's kind of how he presents
himself. I think he would.
Yeah, you think so? But his book, 12 Rules of Life or whatever, if it's not a self-help book, what else could it be? And self-help books don't need to be necessarily bad. I've told you I have my own shitty idea for a self-help book one day, so I'm not fully shitting on them either.
Are you really going with this public? I wasn't gonna say anything, man. That's
one day. It's just an idea.
All right. I don't know.
But I've read one or two where they had like a good chapter, a good point, an interesting thing. So they're not necessarily complete crap always.
Okay, look, in terms of, sorry, I just muted myself because I was going to say some probably harsh words, but no, I, as a category of book, yeah, I think it's, look, man, I would love to read, for example, really, really shitty sword and sorcery books. But I do understand their shit. Yeah, I can okay, fair enough. In their own way, they can be fun
No,
and
I know,
interesting. But
and a lot of them are crappy.
I
That's for
wouldn't.
sure.
Yeah, to be fair, most academic books are crappy as well. So you know, fair enough, I suppose. Completely, yeah, fair point by you. I just wanted to highlight something. I can't find the maps of meaning. Aha, I found it. Sorry. Look, man, that where I say he would disagree with you. I mean, this is from the very beginning of the maps of meaning. This is the, you know, a lot of authors, they put a quote before the book starts, and this is the quote he's put. I will utter things which have kept secret from the foundation of the world. Matthew 13:35. So, I mean,
so let me break that
man.
down. Let me see if I understood this correctly. So it's kind of saying that, you know, I'm not talking
obvious.
Jordan Peterson is kind of saying that, you know, I'm not talking obvious stuff in this book. I'm talking about things that we've forgotten and we should be reminded. Is that the reason for that
more
quote
than
there?
that, this quote implies he's going to give us the secrets of the foundation of the world, which has been kept secret from us. So I do think there is a level of grandiose, and he keeps talking about these ancient, for example, stories are telling from a psychological point of view are interesting, and they are interesting, but they are also interesting from other points of view, including, for example, economic and finance and sociological perspective. But
so he sets the bar high. He sets the bar high with that quote. So, you know, it can't kind of be like, he's not going to be telling you the stereotypical things that you've been hearing. Kind of, he sets the bar high with that quote, so you can kind of judge the other points that he presents.
Yeah, and in case of maps of meaning, by the way, there is a significant amount of his personal, like, you know, when I was growing up, this happened. When I was going through that. So it's a lot of personal experiences shared and is sort of used for further analysis, which I personally don't think is very good. But
I agree with you.
I mean, because I haven't finished both books, so still, please take whatever I'm saying with a pinch of salt. Maybe I get to the ending. Actually, that's one of the things Peterson talks about. He talks about that, for example, you shouldn't. He's criticized by some for the fact that Bible contains some of the most horrific things out there and justifies them, including slavery, child murder, rape, blah, 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 blah. And his point is, well, New Testament sort of supersede the Old Testament, and it's like you're judging a movie halfway through it without watching till the end of the movie for the twist, which is an interesting argument, and I would agree with that on one piece of literature. But I think, I'm sorry, but I think there seems to be with him and Sam Harris even, they have significantly, I feel like they don't have any knowledge of history and real world, you know, because Christian religion, like they talk about, again, going back to one of my favorite guys, Thomas Chatterton, the guy who interviewed, when you don't talk precisely, I think the argument doesn't get anywhere. And they are not talking about precise things. They keep talking about generalized terms, like religion, Christianity as a whole. Christianity in the 2nd century was a completely different creature than it is now. There hadn't been the schisms between the Church of the West and the Church of the East, you know. So, like, yeah, he's in my view, their views are they are in my put simply, I think they are very much representative of this liberal conservative tradition that live mostly in their own mind palaces. They don't refer to real world and historical events, and they try to just focus on ideas and character growth and these type of things. So I think that that's the thing I'm getting right now from reading Maps of Meaning, 12 Rules for Life, and from watching some of his debates and interviews. And so, yeah, this is my general overview, but I would like, after you make probably some comments, I like to say some positive things as well.
Oh, good. I was going to ask you about that. But yeah, I mean, Sam Harris, I've mentioned this a bunch of times. He's like, I guess maybe it comes from he also has a philosophy background or something, but he'll talk about politics by introducing scenarios, and rather than actually talking about, what is happening. You don't need to introduce scenarios really in politics.
Yes, thought
that much.
experiments.
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, sure, fine if you talked about, what you've known and what is happening based on your understanding, then bring that in, fine. And yeah, so I've listened to like two or three, two or three, maybe four videos from Peterson right now, and he makes a lot of observations, right? It's just full of observations. Now things are going that way, back then are going that way. Does he ever provide any kind of like evidence, summon on like, where that, to back up these kind of observations? Does he make in his books? Like, what is it, how is it in his book? Is it like, does he reference stuff, or like you said, he's kind of just talking about his own background and stuff? Okay.
No. He does draw a lot from his personal life, but I don't want to give because I did check this. His books are very well referenced. He references classical Greek authors. He references Roman authors, but not that I mean, that doesn't make it correct or incorrect, but it does make it a professional piece of work. So yeah, it's very well referenced. But for example, it's not it's not your political economy type of reference. It's more like this event for example, the debate between there is a quote from the Socrates trial by Xenophon, for example. He references that. So it's not like a political economy work, which I think is our I find those works to be more scientifically, at least, or I don't know, scientifically more substantial in terms of like they are evidence based. His is not so much evidence of research, more clear, like he's
but don't get into the good stuff yet. Don't get into the good stuff yet. Do you have any particular examples of things that really like got under your nerves and like pissed you off when you were reading or listening to stuff? Anything come to mind? Like,
oh yes,
extremely outrageous stuff.
Yes, I mean, it wasn't the whole that just outraged me, because you had I was watching the debate between him, Sam Harris, and Brett Weinstein, and these three, they are academics. They are far more academic than I am. They have read, I'm sure, more books and have at least produced far more than I have. Full disclosure, but I mean, it's just it frustrates me because it feels genuinely like when I was in high school, like I was thinking and debating this type of crazy bullshit. Like he talks about the fact they're talking about violence and whether religion is the cause of violence, whether religion causes normally good men or normally good women or whatever to do something evil, whatever that means. And then Jordan Peterson brings up this example of gorillas or ape or some kind of ape that they live in tribes, they live in groupings as well. And there is a famous lady Goodwin who does a lot of work with animals, and what she found out with gorillas specifically in Africa, what she found out in one of her research was that even if a gorilla has some social relation with a group, but then migrates or for some reason changes group to another group. And these two groups are like their territory borders each other. The gorilla that has some history with the other tribe, if it goes to their territory, they still attack it violently, and just as if they had they treat it like a gorilla from another tribe, no difference. And then Sam Harris was saying, well, that's just the typical of all tribal behavior of human beings, if you want to draw that. And guys, what the hell are you talking about? First of all, we are not gorillas, okay? We are not I know their analogies can be useful to explain things, but they take it to such a goddamn extreme level. Analogies are useful when you want to get a point to somebody's head, but they're not scientific goddamn. You can't yes, so based on that, it seems the whole argument by Sam Harris is bullshit as well. It's just, I don't want to defend him, but the whole just discussion seemed to me it felt like as if a mind palace had actually come physical, had become material, and Brett Weinstein, yes, what do you think, Mr. Harry? What the hell is going on? I know their whole debate was about religion and all that, so what should I expect? But I don't think any of this has any substance behind it. And frankly, at the point of history we are at right now, I do feel like these type of discussions are nothing more. They can be fascinating. They can be fun. I would love to have this discussion with you privately or with some people in a public place, whatever. It can be a very fun discussion. We can enjoy ourselves, but to use it as to draw these eternal and generalized arguments about the human society and human species, and oh my God,
No, you're totally right, and I have that problem with analogy too. And it's sometimes tempting, like instead of trying to explain things fully, you're just like, just think about it this way, you just throw out the analogy instead of trying to explain properly and give evidence. It's tempting, but yeah, it should come fine. If you made a nice point, laid out some arguments and everything, wrap it up with an analogy. But I feel you exactly, just basing it simply on analogy. You want to say something, but I just want to say something on Brett Weinstein. I watched him once only on the Realignment podcast with Sagar, and I was really put off because, and I've given this example before, he starts talking about, how cell phones and Instagram and all this and taking selfies is kind of ruining people and like ruining girls and all this. And the way he backed that up was to talk about a dream that he's had. And he's like, I have this reoccurring dream where a father is trying to take a picture of his son. He's like, go further back. And he like falls in the water or something and drowns. And I was like, what? Like, how did you go from making such a big observation about something has changed and you back it up with your dream? I can never move past that one experience I've had with Brett Weinstein.
I don't know enough about Mr. Brett Weinstein. I know his brother in my view, his brother went on Joe Rogan show, and I did listen to a lot of his interviews on other shows as well, because at first he struck me as somebody who's really smart, but then as more of his videos I watched, the brother, I don't know about Brett Weinstein. I think he's a grifter, really. But sorry, going back to analogies. No, I genuinely think analogies are extremely useful when you want to, for example, when I was at university, when they were trying to explain concept to us, to understand what the guy is saying. But then there needs to be quite a significant, in my view, and maybe that's a good, just because I personally subscribe to an extent to a sort of I like to think of it as an old-fashioned British empiricist tradition. So I do think a lot of you need to focus on that, then use an analogy as a way to explain your point, and make sure you clarify that analogies are just a way to explain things, make things easier for our brain to digest. So can I get to the positive stuff now?
Yeah, sure. So we're going to come back on to Jordan Peterson anyway. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities. And yeah, and just before that, I love the animal
When I
thing that
finish
it's
the books.
gorillas. Yeah. I love how
Oh,
the analogy about gorillas. The animals, they're always like, whenever people make analogies, they always pick like gorillas. I mean, gorillas may be more relevant, but otherwise lions or
no.
tigers. It's always like these kind of like typical animals. I would like someone to, refer to some other
No,
less talked about animals.
If I'm not mistaken, in 12 Rules for Life, he does use an analogy of birds as well. So
okay, I was actually going to say birds, so I stand corrected.
So maybe he's not so bad.
Yeah,
but no, I just wanted to say, look, as somebody who's been young, who's been, we all go through a lot of personal issues in life. I'm sure his book, a lot of the stuff says is just basically, there is a look. I think our generation and some of the people who are slightly older and younger than us, we live in a generation when people like us have very little actual power, politically, economically, or otherwise, right? And his books, in my view, are in fundamentally are saying a very good thing, which is what you should do is take charge or take control of what you can and what's surrounding you. For example, clean your room, that type of thing. All that is take charge of what you can. We do live in we are not as individuals able to make fundamental changes or significant changes, and we all feel powerless. Even, by the way, I would say the elite, the richest of the rich, feel the same. Why else would they dress up as animals and have sex parties? It's a way to exercise power, because the current world we are living in has been there is a complete power vacuum, right? So I do think at a personal level, and especially when you're young, but not necessarily if you're young, his books can be very good, especially if you connect with his style of writing and all that. And for example, he says you walk, you see a cat, pet it, that's basically, the old saying, smell the roses and all that. Mm-hmm. So it's, all of this is very good. Enjoy life. You can spend your whole life worrying about politics, like some idiots. And, you don't none of it will matter in the end. Yeah. How you treat your family, how you treat your friends, that's what probably more directly matters. But and all of this, in my view, is very good. But I do think, in a way, he doesn't do it so much in his books, possibly more in the interviews, and possibly due to the reaction he got. Mm-hmm. He seems to juxtaposition that with collective action. And I think those two things are not opposites. Those two things, in my view, you start from a place of personal responsibility and you move towards collective action. You try to, maybe very small scale, maybe bigger scale, whatever. I hope, and these things are on a sort of a spectrum and continuation of each other, rather than juxtapositioning collective against the individual.
I see. Very interesting. So, but yeah, so he talks, so by that you mean he says take charge of your own life, so very individualism, and not rely on family members or society or government. Is that the collective thing that you're talking about?
No, he's not. No. He's saying that, for example, instead of falling into basically falling into an abyss of just feeling sorry for yourself and wallowing in misery, you have to. Life is a fight between a heroic character and this chaos force of dragon, which is a lot of times associated in his writing with feminine energy, which whatever that is. Like he keeps saying, so try to bring order to your life rather than no, he's not going after like government. He's not an economist. He's not a neoliberal or anything like that. He's very much a liberal conservative in my view, in a tradition of just they are very, in my view, these like they don't understand that they are basically talking about thought experiments, and it's it's fun when but it's, in my view, it has little to do with real life. At a large scale, it's more for individual level. I haven't come across his writing being like against big government or that type of shit.
No, I didn't mean just big government, but I mean like maybe family or that kind of stuff. But I mean I really need to read his books and stuff like that.
Family for him is a important and because he's a quite in some ways he's a traditionalist.
Yeah, and I agree with him there on the family part. That is for sure. But so what else? Any other thing that you'd like to mention and discuss?
Yes, I like to say, if you're looking for a self-help book, right? And since Kam hasn't, I don't know, hasn't written it yet or hasn't found a publisher. So this is a book that I always put here because I love this book and I really want to show it off. Frankly, I am a show off. That's, I must say. So the book is called The 7 Secrets of Awakening the Highly Effective 4-Hour Giant Today. The Gang Writes a Self-Help Book by Charlie McDennis, Sweetie, and Frank from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Beautiful. I highly suggest this book. It helps me out through some of the most difficult times I've had when I lost my job, when I was between jobs, when I had breakups. It includes drawings. Unlike Jordan Peterson's work, it has drawings. So I like to point out that. I mean,
but in all seriousness, what kind of book is
Jordan Peterson.
What kind of book
is it? Oh
man,
it's one of the funniest books ever. It's awesome. It's genuinely, one of the best, funniest books I've ever read. The best parts are because Charlie's supposed to be basically illiterate. Each chapter is written by one of them, and the best ones are the ones written by Charlie because he's illiterate. Like there are these drawings, and then I think is it Dennis or Mac? One of them translates his writing into actual writing. It's so good. It's so good. And the introduction from the publisher, the whole way they get to it's like the way they get to make this. I don't want the lights to. The way they get to write this book is like it's like a script for one of the episodes of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So if you're looking for a self-help book, go for this and only this.
Good.
It's fantastic. Nice. It's genuinely one of the funniest books I've ever read.
Nice. Yeah, I don't have my books with me. I know I have one or two self-help books. So I'm curious what they were. I have to go back to them. And I had this one, but I can't remember what it is.
I have some. I'm. Do you want me to reveal a secret that will shame me forever?
Go ahead.
I don't have self-help books, but I do have a goddamn lot of astrology books.
Oh, really? Oh my. No, that stuff, my mom is quite into it and others are quite into it, so I hear it.
In Iran, it's huge.
That's a big turnoff for me.
Oh wow.
But what do you like about it?
It's my brain, by the way, right now is saying you're an idiot, you're an idiot, you're an idiot. But in my heart, astrology is pretty much the closest thing I have to religion. I don't know why, but I don't want to talk about it.
No, but I just find fun.
I don't know why, but it seems true in my heart, not in my brain. I want to clarify that. In my heart, it feels true.
Wait, in case I'm mixing things up, is astrology the thing, just in case I know, is that the thing where they say, okay, when if you're a Leo, you're X, Y, and Z, like
Yeah,
you have
yeah,
this kind of character.
yeah,
Yeah, if you're a Gemini, you're X, Y, and Z. I like to bring counter examples when my mom brings that up. I'm like, what about this person? She's like, or this person doesn't fall within that category, then
Now
what?
you don't understand. Okay, it's a very delicate science based on the day of the month,
Oh, okay,
the
sorry, I didn't know that.
sunlight. Oh, there is, yes, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. All of this matters. Okay, so
Okay,
don't,
okay.
you're talking nonsense about something you haven't done the research. Okay, you know.
100%.
Oh no! By the way, that's like, yeah, I've done all of them. Like Chinese. Yeah, the Chinese one is yearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody, like, they say don't throw stones living in a glass house
Yeah.
type thing. I don't care. I'm gonna throw stones and go ahead, throw back.
Nice stuff. Anything else? What was that thing where Jordan Peterson in that video where he's talking about his wife recovering and everything? Then he starts talking about music playlist and how he's like all into music and all that. Does he have another point about music, or is just like he said one thing that I like? He said I wasn't in a positive state of mind, so I couldn't listen to music. And I can also only listen to music. Like when I listen to music, that's why like I just my brain just starts like dreaming, I never actually listen to the music. So I need to also be in like a good state of mind in order to enjoy a song.
Oh, interesting. To be honest, I don't know. I'm sure there is stuff in his writing about music. I haven't come across, I don't remember right now. But yeah, personally, I would say I find, always, I can always listen to music as a background thing. I've
Oh,
never
really?
been able to listen to when I'm doing I mean, when I'm doing exercise, I am doing something else. So yeah, no, I find it always difficult to listen to music. I get distracted. I
Yeah.
need
No,
to
me
do
too. I mean, my
something
brain just
else. Yeah.
goes. I just start like
But
daydreaming
I like. I mean, he again, like, there is a great interview with him. Yeah, on I think the interview you're talking about is the one
with
with
the British
Russell
guy.
Howard, who yeah, who has a great comedy show, weekly comedy show, by the way. And I thought, yeah, again, that's why I wanted to clarify that he seems like a genuinely nice man. And as a dork, I think I would love to
Hmm.
talk to him because he seems to have a lot of knowledge about comparative mythology and all that. And yeah, he seems to be a very good man, even though we have some disagreements. It was interesting. I appreciated him being emotional in an interview, because for a lot of it is kind of normalizing being emotional for men, so that's good. I mean, he cries all the time. It's a bit too much in his case, but it's good. But it's all good. I thought that interview was an interesting interview. It was nice. It was great.
And sorry, last question then. Like, I mean, you just said this and reminded me. So does he talk a lot about like masculinity or like machoism or all that? Like, but like,
Masculinity, not
okay.
machoism. He connects masculinity with the forces of order, or force of order,
Mm,
and femininity with the dark force of chaos. And to be fair, I haven't so far come into, look, man, we automatically, when I say order and chaos, you have a sort of a connotations coming to your head, right? I haven't come across in his writing as of yet that he says chaos definitely bad or they're definitely good.
mm,
In fact, he does sometimes, I think, suggest that chaos leads to creativity, blah, blah, blah. So his writings are not even that clear. I must say, by the way, when I finish the books, I would be more confident to talk about this. But his writing is not very clear as well,
mm.
stylistically. So I think there is a lot of sort of just a lot of pontification, a lot of pontification.
And what does he base that on? That whole like chaos and order thing? Like, does he give historical examples or like,
Not his yes, he talks about. I mean, look, when you talk about psychology and this type of stuff, but I mean, to be fair to him completely, what examples can he give? He gives examples of literature. He gives historical examples, but mostly literature and mythological and philosophical references, rather than, for example, economic or social studies references.
Okay.
And references from his experiences with not from his own he experiences with patients, because he's a psychologist, or studies that psychologists have conducted through clinical trials with their patients, not the typical a study that we talk about that has numbers and
Okay. Interesting. All right, anything else on him?
No, I just want to clarify, when you do want to talk about, for example, comparative mythology and that type of thing, I mean, that's what you reference. So I'm not, again, I do think we should give him full credit for he's doing his full research and all that. So.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you to the commenter who left the comment and got us going with this. Yeah, go ahead.
No, just, I mean, I did give him a lot of credit just now. I do want to say that I think Marxists and Frankfurt School have a far, far superior understanding of culture and critique of culture and all that. I'm just trying to give him credit for like I don't want to give the impression that I agree with anything he says. In fact, I think he's wrong pretty much on most things when it comes to mythology and the way he interprets things. For example, he talks about Abraham and the sacrifice of Ishmael, and I think he's completely. I mean, it's just. I mean, yeah. Anyway, my personal take is far closer to people from Frankfurt School, Adorno, whatever. But yeah. Sorry, I you see, that's the thing. When you want to be balanced, you just end up with cognitive dissonance.
It's good. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, because as I said, he's done his full research. I remembered he doesn't reference any of the people. And when we talk about free speech, I'll talk about that more. He doesn't reference anybody who, for example, I like. So maybe he hasn't done his full research. So.
Okay, Sam. All right. So let's move on to our second story, and it's on Julian Assange and Stephen Donziger. So I just wanted to give very quick update. People have heard it, I'm sure, but just to make sure. So attorneys for environmental lawyer Stephen Donziger said Thursday that he's serving the remainder of a 6-month sentence, so this is Thursday last week, for contempt of court at home under a pandemic era early release program. So luckily he's out of jail now, and he's going to serve, I believe, the rest of his sentence, about 140 days at home. But it kind of had to do, I believe, with coronavirus and them trying to get people out of not have overcrowded jails too much. But in the Julian Assange stuff, it's far sadder. And in fact, I was just reading this article from Al Jazeera. Jail founder and publisher WikiLeaks Julian Assange had a mini stroke during his battle to avoid extradition from Britain to the US. His fiancée Stella Morris said late on Saturday, so just 3 to 4 years ago. And of course, last Friday, the US government won an appeal at Britain's High Court over the extradition of Assange, who faces spying charges over WikiLeaks publication of secret military documents a decade ago. So I just read that part from Al Jazeera.
I didn't know about the stroke.
Yeah, me neither. And it's not talked about a lot, but and then the mother of his wife, Julian Assange suffered a stroke on it's not very recent, I guess, but Julian Assange suffered a stroke on the first day of the High Court appeal hearing on October 27th. So it happened 5 or 6 weeks ago, and that she fears that the mini stroke could be the precursor to a more major attack. Sorry about that.
Shit. I mean, the first news is a very good one, and I hope now that Mr. Donziger is out, he would maybe try to get more media. I mean, he tries as hard as he can, but I hope media pays some more attention to him. because this is perfect. Like right now, like he's in his home, but he's under house arrest. Just I hope somebody pays attention in mainstream media, because this is a very interesting case in my view, because it's an American lawyer, helping uh, uh, people of different nationality in another country, and then come, like it's a very, it's like a global case.
Mhm.
Uh, so yeah, I hope people pay attention. I am so surprised that even RT or Al Jazeera and that type of thing don't pay attention to this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, continue. Do you want to go on Julian
No,
Assange
that's
now and the stuff that you've been watching about him, the Roger Waters, Randy Krennikor,
sure.
Hassan and Vosh?
Yeah, let's talk about. Do you have any takes on the Assange extradition thingy?
No, I mean, not besides that, I think I even mentioned this in video a while ago. I was like, Julian Assange could be very close to being in fact free if the appeal doesn't go, if the appeal had gone his way. But now, I mean, who even knows? So
Yeah, well, yeah. I just want to say, yeah, Useful Idiots. They had a great expert from UN.
oof,
I
I forgot
believe.
about that.
Do you remember? He apparently he was a skeptic originally of
Yeah.
Assange's case, but then he looked at the details, and his analysis was fantastic, sobering, and super dark. Because Matt Taibbi tried to say, just in a, trying to bring a silver lining to this bullshit. He said that maybe now at least he goes to the US, and in a US court he would get acquitted, or they don't, and then the expert was like, well, they haven't spent millions and billions of dollars to to
Yeah.
to acquit him. So so
Yeah.
that was
No,
very sad.
I
But then
believe
there was
he,
sorry, go ahead. No.
sorry, I didn't mean to, yeah, I believe he's a UN special reporter on torture. And yeah, these are like key, they're like few like positions and stuff like that in the UN where you get some interesting things at a person. And this person really seems like he was allowed to talk and do and pretty much whatever he wanted. Of course, he was very high up. And yeah, he talked about how he first received emails from Julian Assange's lawyers and everything. I don't know, he said like in 2018 or something like that. And he didn't even look at it. He said that in his head, Julian Assange was this terrible person and he's not going to waste his time, defending or, working on his case. He can only work on a case once a month. But then I forgot what he mentioned or why. I think they sent him a second email or something and he started digging up and he completely had a change of heart on the whole issue. And I believe he's recently published a book on it, or he has a book coming out on Julian Assange, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's there. I'm sure everybody knows that there was a huge amount of content regarding this issue. There was a sort of I didn't see that, but apparently there was a get together of Katie Halper, Kyle Kalinske, a lot of other Breaking Points people. They had a similar thing for Steven Donziger. But I mean, okay, are we done with the sad parts of the story, or do you have a?
Yeah, no, and now that you've just mentioned Katie Halper, man, she can pull guests out of, like, I mean, the guests that she brings, she is truly terrific at getting the right guests at the right time. I mean, it's amazing.
Yes, it's amazing. And she had somebody on who personally I was just so happy to see. I almost like jumped in my chair. She had Lucy Lawless, Xena the Princess Warrior. You watched Xena when you were a kid, right?
No.
Oh, come on, man. It's
sorry to disappoint you once again.
Oh my god, yeah. They had this is
ridiculous. In the Steven
Steven
Donziger part, there's this part where as if like Cornel West is being kept like on the bench or something. She's like, Cornel West is here. Let me bring him in 1 second. He's like, she's like, as if you have such a good team that you keep like some star players even on the bench or something. And she brings them on, and there are like 5 of them.
There should be a commentary on the whole thing. Cornel West sitting on the bench right now. People have criticized Katie for not using Cornel at the right moments in the game.
But he's bringing on now. Oh yes, he's changing. He's taking off his bib and putting on his kit. Okay, we're gonna see.
Okay. We also see Adolf Fries on the bench.
He's putting on his shoes.
They bought. Yeah.
He should be making an appearance later on.
Chomsky couldn't be because of his recent, because of his recent injuries.
Yeah. Man, it was ridiculous.
Oh my god! No, but yeah, man, Lucy Lawless was like, I love this. Like, I love that Katie's finding out all these awesome, cool celebrities like James Cromwell. And by the way, if I could make a suggestion, because Katie Halper seems to get everybody. Get Brian Cox. He's also a super awesome lefty and he's funny and all that. James Cromwell, Lucy Lawless, the sexiest woman alive.
Brian Cox, the physicist, the British guy.
No, not the physicist.
Oh.
Brian Cox, the actor. And
that's the first thing. Oh, the old guy from what's it called? From Succession. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. And from a lot of, like, Brian Cox is a goddamn legend. He was in Troy. He was in he's been in too many things to name. He's a legend. It was great. It was, I mean, yeah. And I wanted to mention Zena is from Miss Lawless. I don't know. She's from New Zealand, and that's a sexy accent right there.
All right, okay. So now that we got the sad part out of the way, the inappropriate part out of the way too.
Moved on to
yeah. Now let's move on to the fun stuff. No, this was the inappropriate middle ground. Yeah, okay, go on.
Oh, right, you're right. This was a bit. I'm sorry, by the way, if I'm objectifying. I don't mean to do that. They talk about the real issues, by the way. It was just fun to see a celebrity, talk about real important issues as well. It was just a personal, thing I had since childhood. So I was very happy that those two things happened to overlap. No offense. And then there was this whole debacle or fracas, as I like to call it, since you remember the whole, what was it? The whole Top Gear thing, fracas.
Watch Top Gear a lot, so I must know what are you referring to exactly?
At the end, the guy got what's his name?
Jeremy Clarkson.
He got fired. Yeah, he got fired over a fracas, and fracas was like a word that I had never heard before.
Well, I haven't
since then.
I haven't heard that word either.
All right. No, in England, suddenly everybody described it as a fracas, and then it suddenly became, I think it means sort of like altercation or something. I don't know. But there was this whole thing between do you want to give a sort of overview, or should I just jump in with the?
You can. I mean, pretty much all I know about is Glenn Greenwald tweeted this included a little short video of Hassan Piker. That's what you're referring to, right? Yeah, a short video of Hassan Piker where Hassan Piker pretty much says, actually, I'll put the video right now so people can see it. But it pretty much is like, he makes it seem like, people are asking him about Julian Assange and he doesn't want to talk about it. And it's like you right-wing kind of obsessed people with Julian Assange. But I'll flash the tweet right now and the video so people will see it. Exactly.
Bro, why are you not mentioning hero Julian Assange being extradited? What the fuck is wrong with you? Assange stands on the internet are some of the most psychotic weirdos that it's just like, just stop, okay? Just be normal. Just stop. Do your fucking weird thing at the Jimmy Dore stream, okay? This is not the Jimmy Dore stream. We do a bunch of different content here. Go hang out with like weirdo fucking fascists, okay?
And then the Vosh part, I have no idea. So that you have to set it up.
All right. And to be honest, I didn't look into it too much because that's the point I want to get into it. Yeah, Hassan Piker said something, but then he responded and he said, I talked about it later. I don't know. I wanted to talk about two things. Sorry. Two things. What Wash said was far more worse. Apparently, he said
Mhm.
something to do with I'm okay with Assange being like killed or something.
Jesus Christ.
If it's something like it was disgusting, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. My first point is that, first of all, Glenn, what are you doing, man? Go take down a South American republic or something. What are you doing, wasting your time with like losers that are like doing 8-hour? They're playing video games. Well, I don't know. They're also commenting on political economy of
Sam,
Ecuador. And what are you doing, man? Sorry, go ahead.
before you would like to come back on this later, I don't think you're saying that people who play video games are all necessary losers, right? Just giving you a moment to clarify that in case
I
it
play
came up
video
like that.
games. No. I am
You just mean
playing. I
Hassan
love
Piker
playing.
specifically.
I mean Hassan Piker and Wash, or
Yeah.
anybody who's doing this. I'll get to my second point as well. And I mean, by the way, I don't know if I'm an idiot on a lot of matters too. I think these people are also idiots in these matters because they have no
Agree with you
expertise.
there.
But I genuinely do think it's a waste of Glenn's time
Mhm.
to like he's finding this bullshit. Like, who gives a shit? You're somebody who brought down the Brazilian government, man. Go focus your energy on, like, I don't know,
But-
Canada and reforming there. Like Glenn should be like, I don't know, if I was like, Glenn should join forces with Cornel West and Adolf Reed and just attack different government level entities, not
Yeah.
wasting their time with some shitty commentators like myself. And anyways,
But
that
Sam,
was for me, that was the
'cause
main point.
You're saying this because you think Glenn is like us. Like if I were to put out that tweet, and that would probably take half my day. But Glenn, it probably took him like half a second to do all of that. So I don't know if it really counts as waste of time if you can.
Fair
I
enough.
don't know how quickly
Maybe
he puts out these
yeah.
tweets, but it's insane. I don't know how. Yeah.
Maybe this is his way of letting off a steam from his actual
exactly.
fight against corruption.
He was on his break.
Yeah, maybe, but still, I do think like just quickly, like seriously. Anyway, but like that was the thing though, because at first it seemed like maybe it was a genuinely important story or whatever. So I looked into it. Sadly, that was a waste of time. Man, I watched a bit of the Wash thing and I watched a bit of the Hassan Piker. Have you seen their shows or the Twitch shows or whatever they're called?
I know, like they're just stuff like flashing in front of their screen, like comments and stuff, or they're playing little games too.
Oh my God, I've never felt so old. I felt like a million years old. There is the video of them, then there is another video, then there is all these people chatting, and then there is these fucking animation dogs and animation birds coming, and they're like, oh, and then there's these noises. There's these noises, like they're talking, they're making commentary about something while playing the video game. And then there's this noise coming. Julian, man, if you have a schizophrenia or something, there should be a disclaimer. There should definitely be a disclaimer. Jesus Christ, I was just like, I don't know. I felt like a million years old. I'm just gonna, probably move to Florida soon.
No,
fuck this.
man,
I'm out.
Twitch is probably one of those things I know the least about, like out of platforms and places.
What was that noise? What are those noises?
I don't know what noise you're referring
he's talking. I swear to God, he's talking, and then suddenly it's like a whisper of the oracle of the ancient Greek. Like, and you're like, what should I pay attention to here? I don't know. Yeah. So
all right. So your first point is that why does Glenn waste his time with someone like Hassan Piker? What's your second point?
Or me, man, or something.
Let's move on to your second point.
My second point was that what has happened to our children, as the conservatives like to say. What is Twitch? I don't understand it, and please somebody help me. I think I'm old now, officially, like proper old.
Yeah,
but do you have any better understanding of what the fuck is going on there? Because I was genuinely just shocked.
No idea. I mean, the thing that shocked me the most, but that's only the Destiny one, that when Destiny was having a debate with with Professor Wolf, he was also playing a game simultaneously. So he also had that too. Like he was just playing one of these. But by the way, there's this crazy world of NFTs and games and stuff like that I should explain to you later on. Someone was telling me a little bit. So people are actually making money of playing these games, and you have to invest at first. But yeah, that's separate conversation.
I did understand, like, people love watching other people play and shit and pay them money and stuff. And I can completely understand that, watching that as a form of art or whatever. I think gaming is art. I think games are art. They are interesting types of art. But it's just this whole thing, it was very schizophrenic, man. It's, well, I don't know. This Twitch thing. I'm not talking about gaming. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But the last thing on Assange and stuff. Yeah, I felt, especially relating to the fact that I'm realizing how old I am, was watching Katie Halper and Randy Krinico and Roger Wattles. I felt far more at home there. Yeah. Because it was basically two old men, just like us, kind of, shouting at each other, mostly cutting each other off, and mostly to agree with each other, not to disagree. Like pretty much like our shows, like Kam, stop. I want to agree with you. Stop. No, Sam.
Yeah, I made it like 15 minutes into that one. There's one point exactly. Like Roger Waters stops them. He's like, no. I'm trying to make that point too. I'm trying to make the exact same point.
No, man, I love you. No, I love you. No, oh really? Well, it was really good though, man. That one was really good. Like Andy Krinico and Roger Waters, I think both make real good points about as very lowly individuals are the viewers. What can we possibly do to make the world a better place? And it's always awesome to see a celebrity like Lucy Lawless, like James Cromwell, Brian Cox, Roger Wattles, that are, artistically so talented and also like are actually good guys. So it's awesome. But I highly recommend watching that for the fun of watching two. I mean, if you like us bickering over things we agree, I think you like them as well. It was so much fun, and he's so cool. Roger Waters is so cool. I mean, he talks about Trump, and he's just, he's amazing. He calls him a fat prick. So I love that.
Gee, that sounds
the most accurate description.
Nice one. Anything else here?
No, I think we've milked this cow as much as we could.
All right, Sam, let's move on to Matt Taibbi. And I feel like we go through phases with people. Like for a while, a month ago, all our videos were about Brianna. Before that, they were all about Aaron Matte. Now it's just all about Matt Taibbi.
You're right.
But yeah, we have a few things.
We are basically fanboys, yes.
Indeed. And I've become actually, more and more into Matt Taibbi and reading his Substack articles a lot of time and watching his stuff. So and thanks to him, I listened to a complete Joe Rogan podcast for the first time in quite a while. I think the last time I listened to was the Quentin Tarantino one, like 6 months ago. I love that one. But yeah, so with Joe Rogan and Matt Taibbi, they talk, I mean, the video that is titled something about Kyle Rittenhouse, but at least a good 40 minutes in the beginning and again towards the end is all about the media. And Matt Taibbi, I found that there was just a huge, and not even a little bit, quite a lot of romanticizing about this previous time where journalists were, and only at the end he provides one interesting piece of evidence we can come to, but that, there were these journalists and they were all so curious, these old school journalists and everything, and how it's all changed. And before throwing it back to you, he gives this one example, and he's like, there were people like Seymour Hersh, and I don't know Seymour Hersh too much, but I thought he was kind of like a huge, amazing journalist, of course, but he wasn't your typical journalist, right? He was kind of like the person who went out there and got the story. So I don't think he would represent journalists of that era. So yeah, that's my little introductory monologue. I found that there was huge romanticizing of, and maybe this was the case, I don't know it historically, it's just I wasn't too sold. And even he goes further than that, that like right now the media has gotten extremely bad. And I mean, 10 years ago, was it not like this? 20 years ago, was it not like this? Go ahead.
2 points. I agree with you that it comes across that way. But I think if you read his books and stuff, I think he would agree that what he's describing was in my view, was not, for example, he mentions, for example, that, Black people of different sexual orientation, blah, 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 women, they were always underrepresented and all that before. But the fact was that the media was not so, the power of media was not so concentrated before, right? So naturally, when the media is more fragmented, in my view, you have a more, and there was a more adversarial relationship between the media and the establishment, because they came from different places. There were more working class journalists because journalism wasn't a cool job, and people from Yale and Harvard would go to government.
Now, that's the interesting evidence I was mentioning that I found compelling.
That's now people who go to Yale and Harvard go to top journalistic jobs as well as top governmental jobs, right? So what he was saying, in my opinion, was true, but it was a historic exception. It was not, if you go back further back, then you get to ages where it was far more constant. For example, when you go to medieval times or even ancient times, the closest thing you have to journalism is basically court historian, that type of thing. So, it's far more, it's like literally, it's within a family, or it's just within a very, very tiny minority. So I think it was a historical exception that post-World War II, due to certain factors in around the world, especially in the West, whatever West means, that happened. And I would say, second point you said, compared to 10 years ago, again, I think, because you should view this as a process. I think during the last 10 to 20 years, with the advent of Fox News and the fact that and the growth of online media, the business model for media changed. And then increasingly during the last decade, MSNBC adopted the Fox model of catering to a certain group only. So yeah, it has changed, but it should be viewed as how larger structural economic forces are affecting the media.
I mean, I completely couldn't agree more about the media. I mean, this is the fact, the media consolidating and all this. These are all facts. But I mean, so first, newspapers and stuff used to also cater specifically to a particular audience, right? I mean, don't people do that? People didn't used to go and buy different newspapers. Everybody just had there were a few newspapers involved in the town, and you had your favorite, and that's the one that you read. And so post World War II, so let's say in the Vietnam era, so there was amazing reporting of the Vietnam War during that time. Was that how it was? I mean, I haven't done my research or know about it, but I don't think so. So perhaps, I don't want to say that media hasn't changed. It's clearly changed. We've talked about this, but that even during that time, it was better. Sure, it was maybe more adversarial. The tones were different. The styles were different. Still, I mean, maybe I would have to read Matt Taibbi's book. He praised evidence, but I mean, just think of whatever happened during those times. Was there this critical, curious reporting? And Matt Taibbi says they were curious back then. He's like, these are the questions that make me think this way. I mean, I'd be shocked if there were a bunch of Matt Taibbis running around even during that era?
No, I mean, Hunter stopped. So he was.
There were
I
some,
don't.
but
There were
saying,
some. Yeah, how mainstream was it? How I understand. I think back then, mainstream media, the media that was viewed by millions of people, it was not. It didn't have such a close relationship with the establishment. Some of it did. For example, Atlantic Monthly has always been what it is. But yeah, you're right. I mean, because I have never because at the same because I'm as people, viewers know, I love movies, and for example, I always think 70s are the best, for example, era for movies. But then you realize, for example, it's just because time has passed and the good ones remain. It's the bad ones are forgotten. So maybe that's not the case if you do an actual like number analysis. But I do feel like media was far more. I mean, I had let me,
like, was
I
the
had
New York
something
Times?
in
I mean, I
mind.
think Matt Taibbi explicitly says that the New York Times was better, and now they're just getting rid
New
of
York
anybody
Times,
who
I
was
don't know.
good. Was it? I also don't know. I'm literally like, I have no evidence to back the stuff that I'm saying, but at the same time, I just have all these questions. Like when I was listening to the podcast, I just wanted to ask Matt Taibbi, but really, you're saying during this time there was that? And the piece of evidence, you mentioned the piece of evidence.
Remember,
sorry, just one last thing, because I teased it before. You already mentioned the piece of evidence. That was very interesting, which he talked about how before journalists came from a different social class, and now that has changed. So that was a very interesting structural explanation and example he kind of gave.
No, I mean, I think I just think, there was a bit more distance in the relationship between media and establishment, but you're making really good points. And I'm thinking of like David Frost, who was a original softball interviewee, the guy who mixed celebrity and political interviews together. I'm thinking of Mike Wallace, father of Chris Wallace from Fox News. And you're right, maybe even they weren't that different. But maybe written press was, it's very, I think you got me.
I mean, I don't know. And we have some viewers who are a bit we have some viewers who are older than us and also know probably more than us in a lot of these areas. So I would be curious to see if they can think of, I'm not saying that the media hasn't gotten worse, but like that drastic difference, that's the part that I don't see too much. But yeah, and then we can move on. So that was one of the main discussion. Then the other one was kind of about policing. And Joe Rogan really went on this thing with police that Matt Taibbi didn't really agree with. He didn't like talk back about it. He kind of just moved on, which was this thing that given, what has happened with the few cases and a lot of cases, the ones that have become publicized, of course, and people getting murdered in the hand of the police, that now the police are afraid. And, he kind of gave LA and California examples. So he did get a bit specific.
Minneapolis.
And then, maybe some other person. And damn, Joe Rogan just seems significantly more informed and like well-read than he did like 5 years ago. So, I mean, I didn't buy this thing that he was saying, but he wasn't just like talking like that. And yeah, that the police are afraid now, and that because of that, criminals can do more because police are afraid to get in trouble by,
I'm very
arresting
very
people.
I'm very
that
suspicious
took me back.
of these. I mean, he talked about. I didn't look into it. To be honest, I didn't. I didn't look into this. So if people want to put a comment that again, okay, I'll look into it for next week. But I don't know, man. This whole thing about police are afraid now in Minneapolis. Crime is police has like 1,000 ways to Sunday to come up with ways to bump up crime numbers and all that. I don't know. I felt a bit. Oh no! Now they are, the police guys. His thing on police always weirded me out. It's, by the way, I'm one of those guys who's like if I'm put in a real situation, I'll probably act like a Karen. I'm like one of those people, 911, please help me. There's a cat. It's a bit angry, I feel. So I'm actually very pro police. I think, like, in fact, funding for police should go higher. I think police salaries should be really high. And then you should get really good people instead of the, some of the current makeup that we get. But anyways, but yeah, that thing, I don't know that I didn't feel right to me, but I'll look into it, whatever.
Yeah,
damn,
but yeah, and
as soon as you say you have
but yeah, like more money spent on the police budget. I mean, I'm glad that you specified a bit how you would like that money to be spent. So I think that probably prevented from any kind of backlash there. But yeah, that was kind of the weirdest. That was one of the weirder ones.
And as as somebody who subscribes to good old British values, I believe that police should never use lethal force. That's what makes the police.
Yeah, and then I think Joe Rogan also had another point. This one is probably more there, but even that, which is that, he talked a lot about progressives and Democrats and stuff, and that, they've kind of with their conversations and things allowed the police, made the police this kind of target and all this. So kind of with the same point that he was saying, and that, now crime has gone up, I think he was saying, in like, progressive and democratic areas, and he was kind of linking it to that, I feel. But that part I don't recall too correctly, so I might be mistaken. But my previous points, I have complete recollection, and I can stand by them.
I think he has a real misconception about the power of the police. The police are extremely powerful, man. I remember 2 years ago, they arrested Bill de Blasio's daughter. The New York City.
Yeah,
it's sort of as a message to be careful with our fun. I don't know. I need to look into this. That's why I don't want to. And he didn't seem to provide any specific evidence. That's why I didn't like it. That's all. So I just. Fuck.
Yeah, he talked about LA and Minneapolis.
I don't know. I need
to look LA a bit. Yeah. So that was a bit of like the specificity that he got into, I remember. But yeah, I think that's it from the podcast. So let's keep on talking about Matt Taibbi. I think you want to talk a little bit about Russia. The Gray Zone, just going to say that the Gray Zone had this, I really enjoyed it, this really good video where they talked about Russia. So I believe it was Ben Norton and Max Blumenthal, and then this expert that they come, and he talked about, the Russia, Ukraine, US, and all this terrific video. Yeah, I really recommend watching the first 30 and 40 minutes of it. And the guy says some funny things to Ben Norton too, because Ben Norton starts talking 35 minutes in, and he kind of did a bit of the, he's like, look at Putin. He talks about this like photo where you can see Biden with all his aides, but Putin doesn't have his aides. You see Putin doesn't even need his aides there and stuff. And the guy's like, okay, let's get a bit serious now, it's just protocol and stuff.
Calm down, yeah.
Was there as so I enjoyed that a bit. He was like, listen, I'm giving you the narrative you like, but pump the brakes.
Just chill out. All right? I love Ben Norton. He's I feel like, I don't know why, but he feels so young, and he feels so like, yeah, he's so excited about this. I mean, somebody needs to break it to him that,
but terrific stuff otherwise.
Terrific stuff. So this is basically our overture to our geopolitics brief, and I think it's a good segue. Matt Taibbi did a great, I think he gave a great view of what's going on in Ukraine and Russia right now. The Gray Zone video was fantastic. I think the military expert was, just right on the money. So first of all, I think most of this whole Ukraine thing is media hype. America is never going to go to war over Donbass, with Russia. So this is ridiculous. Already European leaders have already basically come up with a plan to have Donbass become sort of a semi-autonomous region, and some other Crimea, some other parts as well. And so Matt Taibbi gives the analysis, which I think I've had heard previously from a late Professor Cohen that borders that were drawn. I mean, both Soviet borders, and was the case with Nagorno-Karabakh war, which we covered a lot. Both in Caucasus, in Eastern Europe, the borders that were drawn during the Soviet years, especially when Stalin was in charge, were drawn in a way to create tension. Following the collapse of Soviet Union, again, these borders were, I would say, more drawn just in a very haphazard and just idiotic fashion. So things there are very complex, and things are very, there are no clear good or bad guys. What's going on is that basically a bunch of corrupt oligarchs in Kiev are trying to get more funding from US and from West. They try to get their beaks wet as much as they can. So all they do is they what do you say?
Try to amp up tensions.
Yes, exactly. They overhype the tensions with Russia so they can get their money's worth. Although I do think they're idiots and they're playing a stupid game, because while I don't think Russia has the economic capability right now to conquer Ukraine, unlike some people on the left, I do think Russians have very, very, very much the long-term intention of conquering not just Ukraine, but most of Eastern Europe. And they view it as their ancient homeland, a lot of them. I mean, there is, for example, Russian theorists that believe Russia should, in fact, even take, they've written books, the name of the guy escapes me, but there's this Russian theory that for global security, Russia should, in fact, even invade Middle East and expand its zone of influence beyond Caucasus and Central Asia. So this idea that in Russia, they're all like these, peace-loving people who are, it's just that Russia is not economically or politically at the moment in a position to make an attack. But long-term, in a 50 to 100-year sort of perspective, of course, that's the plan.
Yeah, and definitely don't want to turn this into caricature of do-gooders and stuff. I was gonna say, I think the expert would have disagreed with you there, but then I saw that you continued, which I don't think he would, because he was also making the point that Russia wouldn't even want to invade Ukraine right now. It's just too much of a burden. It's not worth it for them. It's not to their advantage. However, you're saying, you're not saying right now, so you agree with that, but you're like, down the line, it's perhaps something that they wouldn't mind.
Yeah, because right now Ukraine is no problem if it doesn't become part of NATO. It's they already kind of have significant influence because it's a corrupt country, because there is a significant minority of Russian speakers, so yeah, I would think even if they had like plans to take over it, it's 50 to 100 years plans. Not an immediate thing. But
what do you call those kind of plans? Long term or not? it's
long
term.
No, it's I would say 50 years is like medium term. 100.
That makes sense. It should be, especially in geopolitics. Yeah.
In geopolitics, that's how it works. That's usually how it works. So, But at the same time, there is no doubt that these clowns in Kiev who've put on a literal actor as a president, they're just trying to get funding. That's their thing.
Yep. Okay, what else?
So sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Nothing to add on the Russian-Ukrainian issue. So should I just continue with our brief? Should I jump on to?
Please. Yeah?
So there was this news from Middle East, which I think this is the most important news we've covered in a long time. I mean, ever possibly. I don't know what. Okay, this is from people.com. I am sad to say, over 40 camels disqualified from beauty contest in Saudi Arabia for receiving Botox injections. Botox was deemed an illegal advantage in camel beauty contest following a Botox injection incident involving a dozen contestant camels in 2018. This is disgusting, man. Can you believe they have brought corruption? They have brought corruption and Botox to camel beauty contests.
It's supposed to be a noble and natural competition, and they're corrupting it.
They're corrupting it. Wait, what is next? Nose jobs? What is going on?
But at first when you shared the story with me, because I couldn't read it fully, I thought they were racing camels. So no, this was like a beauty contest. They weren't like racers.
Yeah. Oh,
because they race with camels too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yes, of course, race. Yeah, Jesus. any animal that moves, they race with. So, but everybody does. But yeah, I remember. I think you messaged me or you said something about. Was it the steroids? I was like, why did he say steroids? Because yeah, that would help, I suppose, with running and shit. Yeah. But this was this was Botox. And I don't know. This is fantastic. This is fantastic that people in Middle East, where there we have Lebanon there are people don't have electricity. There is no water. Syria is a civil war. Iraq, people are dying from the heat. And in UAE, the real tragedy was happening. It wasn't a happy hump day for some camel breeders in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi press agency, which I assume is covering other important issues like, a steroid use in gorilla weightlifting. I don't know. I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. So reported Wednesday that more than 40 camels were disqualified from a beauty contest at the King Abdul Aziz Camel Festival. I mean, you gotta put your name on a camel festival for receiving Botox injections and other artificial physical enhancements ahead of the events, according to the Associated Press. I'm glad Associated Press devoted their time to this. I would like to say, as a Middle Eastern, the worst part of this is that, this is just confirming goddamn stereotypes that we all live with camels, and,
But yeah, you know what though? Can I make a little side note? I was looking up Botox because I was seeing do I have the spelling right and everything? And did you know Botox is actually a brand? Like it's a proper noun and it's been trademarked. I'm looking at it right now in the Cambridge Dictionary.
Oh, wow.
It's a brand name for
Kleenex.
substance. Yes, or Band-Aid. Band-Aid is a brand too, if known as Bandage. And then so we still learned something from from this story.
Yeah. Oh, man, are you implying the tragic how do you say, the tragic influence of beauty culture on camels is not
corruption of beauty culture? No, never.
Do you think there are all these camels that are not eating to for this competition,
Jesus
and are becoming
Christ.
anorexic?
Okay, this is getting a bit too serious now, because now that I think about it, I'm sure they do, man, these poor camels. The things that they do, or I wouldn't be surprised if they cut weird parts or things like that. I wouldn't be surprised, and if they trim them in different ways or things like that. So I think maybe we should transition before it takes a dark turn. I mean, I don't know. I'm just,
And fuck, I was gonna make a joke. I was gonna make a joke about anorexic camels and how they're influenced by advertisement and all that, and you just made it so dark. I was like, I had a whole bit about bulimic camels that go and put their hoof into their mouth, and now you made it all dark and
sorry about that. Sorry to kill your bit there. Maybe you can work it again around something else for next week.
Yeah, next time, hopefully. But all right. On less important news, by the way, my headphones are low on battery, so there might be a bit of a cut soon. On There is a cut. So sorry about that. On the geopolitics brief on less important news, we had Naftali Bennett, the Israeli Prime Minister, officially visited UAE, which was a big deal. And we also had the Iranian nuclear talks are pretty much coming into a dead end. Europeans are saying this is Iran's last chance to make a deal. And Iranians are saying we have not had any offers from the Europeans or Americans. All we've heard is it has been a blame game. And frankly, I have some news that I feel like nobody covered. I didn't see Al Jazeera, RT, or anybody covered. There has been, on the other, like this was somewhat negative development, but there has been high-level meetings between Iranian military officials and Saudi Arabian officials. And a senior military official of Iran just came out and said that the talks have been positive and the misunderstandings have been cleared with Saudi Arabia. He also confirmed direct talks with UAE, but he said that there has been no talks with Bahrain. So I think what we're seeing, frankly, is as America retreats from the region, arguably, in my view, and for example, the attacks on Aramco, on oil facilities in Saudi Arabia, showed Saudi Arabia that America is not really willing to risk much for Saudi Arabia. So I think we're going to see increased diplomacy and potentially war or tension regionally, with American involvement becoming less and less as time goes by. But it was fascinating to me that there are these hugely high-level talks going on between Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iran, and there seems to be no coverage of that, and the sole focus is on the nuclear talks and things there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, it kind of going on with that trend. I mean, not that trend, those talks that they had in Iraq before, I guess, between the Saudis and the Iranians, if I'm not mistaken, nearly a year ago. So you read these in Persian sources. Where was it being covered? Is it
BBC Persia, Tehran Times, Iran International? There's a Press TV. Yeah.
I mean, it's very big. I mean, it's kind of like, it could potentially be a big game-changing kind of narrative to introduce in the media. So I'm not too surprised that mainstream media is kind of staying clear from this, because
I mean, there has been, to be fair, there has been talks of Iranian Arab talks are pretty much always ongoing, and a lot of time they are fruitless. So maybe it's going nowhere. But I do think, in the light of American retreat and focus on East Asia, there might be something there.
Totally. Yeah. Are there other stories you'd like to continue?
Oh, no, that was it. To be honest, there is not much else worth mentioning, I feel.
All right, Sam, let's wrap up with a few more fun stories, although I feel like we've done a lot of that today, which is good. So which one would you like to start first with? Dr. Oz announcing that, so he announced on 30th of November his candidacy for the Republican nomination of the US Senate seat in Pennsylvania. Any thoughts, comments?
It was a tragic day for all the Turks. As a Turk, I apologize for this man, for existence of this man, and I don't know, as a somebody who is proudly has some Turkish roots, and by the way, you do too, and I think you should apologize too. We all apologize. We want to say we don't really know this guy. We don't know where he came from. Just what the hell, man. But yeah, no.
But I told you I have a little bias for him, and he doesn't piss me off, just like I told you yesterday, but you put me in my place. He doesn't piss me off as much as Ellen DeGeneres and Dr. Phil. But
I think first of all, I don't know why you put Ellen DeGeneres there, because Ellen DeGeneres is host like show person.
But
Like
they do
she
the
never.
same thing. They serve the
No,
same
they
audiences
don't.
for the same
No.
purposes and the same kind of thing. They entertain the same kind of group of people around the same time on the same channels.
No, man.
That's why I kind of put them together.
Look. No, Ellen is a talk show host and a comedian, and she has had some good comedy in my view in the past.
Yeah, just recently she pissed me off. But yes.
I know she hugged George Bush or something. I don't know.
Not even that. Yeah, even more.
Yeah. But she's not like, she never claimed to be a doctor. You know, Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz.
Correct.
Dr. Oz is actually, and what puts, in my view, what makes Dr. Oz far worse than Dr. Phil or Jeremy Kyle or Jerry Springer or that type of thing, is that he does with medicine. He peddles. He's a snake's oil salesman. He's a snake's oil salesman. That's all he is. Nothing more. And then, Jesus Christ, it's so sad that it's just people like him rise up. And it's quite funny that he says, I read that somewhere, he said that he's been influenced by mysticism because he says he's a Muslim, and he's been
really?
influenced by the mysticism of Sufis. And yeah, mysticism of Sufis is exactly the same bullshit that he peddles. So it completely makes sense, that, he would be into mysticism and Sufis and all that. Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know he goes out and
just the old version of the same crap. But yeah, it was a very sad day, I think, for humanity as a whole. I don't
know, not the saddest ones Trump, for me that I've seen. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't the craziest.
It was funny.
Yeah. It wasn't the craziest one. And my bias comes from the fact, like I told you once, I saw him like 5, 7, or 8 years ago have a segment on vegan diets. So I was like, you get my stamp of approval. But I remember too, he was pushing like the juices and kind of things. Like it was that kind of thing. So I didn't even agree fully, but I remember I was like, okay, nice. But if not, you're totally right, and I stand corrected. And Ellen DeGeneres, she pissed me off really when she, like, Corona happened at first and there was like the lockdown and she was in her house.
Mansion.
Yeah, and she made it seem like, exactly like it's the end of the world for you. Just shut up and sit in your house for 2 minutes. You're doing your show, and it was just like, it's so hard being at home. She wasn't anti-lockdown, of course. That wasn't her thing. It was just that, it's hard for me to
no, I definitely agree with you all on that. But I think somebody who's a physician and uses that authority to do what he does, it's just, this is the lowest of the low. Although, I mean, we are all grifters in life, so I suppose he's a more successful grifter. And
I believe, was it Brianna who had the segment on him? Yeah, and it was really good, and it was really like level-headed, and they didn't, blow it out of proportion or make it seem like, oh, he's gonna get crushed for sure because he's anti this and that, or like, no, I doubt the science kind of thing will work against him and stuff. And they gave him a fair chance and everything. And I thought it was really good analysis, fair analysis that they gave. So if somebody hasn't checked it out, do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was that was the best. Yeah, that was,
because I was scared they're gonna blow it out of proportion. I was scared it's gonna be the end of the world doomsday kind of thing, and it wasn't. No, fair enough. And I'm hoping at least it leads to, I'm hoping his campaign for Senate leads to some, great comedic material for all people around. Sure. So hopefully that happens. You have, there are positive things happening. 100% agree with you there. But exactly on that point, they pointed out something good. They were like, this guy's on TV all the time, so don't think that you can't have got you moments with him and get him forgotten. He's not going to fall into traps that easily because of his broadcasting experience and all that. So you reminded me of that.
That's true. And yeah, I don't know. I think he's got the Trump factor going, sort of, people have seen him so much that they feel they know him and, just sort of trust him for. I don't know. We'll see. Sure. We'll see. I mean, maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion now. Yes.
And no, not at all. And like, I think he can also please to some moderates. I wouldn't be surprised, like moderate Republicans or even kind of Democrat kind of thing. Like, because I said, like, a lot of Democrat-leaning people, I don't have data to back this up, but I think they watch
Yeah,
his
man, he's
show.
been on Oprah. He's been on Oprah. Oprah has given, he's one of the best bits. I think, who said that? Was it on Bad Face? Well, he's part of the Oprah's extended universe. It's like Marvel's extended universe. You got all these people like Oprah made famous, Dr. Phil, Dr. Oz, and then they go do their own shows.
So
he's
there
part
you
of
go.
he's got some Democrats voting with
Yeah.
him.
What else do we have? Matt Taibbi and Useful Idiot showed this clip of Chuck Todd.
Now have chosen not to get the vaccine. But what the biggest impact to be right now is to get boosters into seniors. That's what's going to stop hospitalizations and stop deaths. If you're a senior citizen and haven't got your booster yet, shame on you. Please go do that. If you have underlying health care conditions, if you're diabetic, if you're overweight, please go get the booster, because you're going to get the virus, be exposed to it. I'll guarantee it. And if you don't have that booster, we know the vaccines kind of run out after about 5 to 6 months. Natural immunity would help. And even those with natural immunity may want to consider getting the booster as well. But I think being honest with America is the plan. We know that mandates don't work. From a practical standpoint, mandates are going to cause an economic shutdown. It's going to exacerbate inflation. It's going to cause brownouts. It's going to cause supply chain disruptions and national security issues. Think about this. Half of the National Guard is not vaccinated yet. What would be happening in Kentucky right now if we shut down half of the National Guard? I support the vaccines, but not the mandates.
You said something interesting. You said if senior citizens haven't gotten that booster, shame on you. Is that your attitude for any unvaccinated person in the hospital right now? Because 80% of hospitalizations at a minimum.
Where he had the most reasonable Republican I've ever seen in my in my life on his show.
Yeah.
He was like, everything that he was saying was
such
just so good. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. He was just talking about, go get vaccinated, but mandates don't work and they backfire, and let's be honest and stuff. So for a politician, Republican, but then he made, I think Matt Taibbi and Katie were a bit like, Matt Taibbi dismissed this comment a bit too much. It was just, he gave Chuck Todd a bit too much, because he said, if you're an elderly and you're at the hospital and you got COVID and you're not vaxxed and stuff, shame on you.
No. He didn't say if you're in hospital. He said if you're elderly and you could have gotten vaccinated and haven't gotten vaccinated. Yeah. No, man. Look, I think the shame on you bit was too much, and it was politician talk and all that. But Chuck Todd is such a dick. He's such a dick. It's like, arguing with someone about a topic, and they ignore the actual topic and say, oh, when you said that bad word, would you say that bad word about that other thing? It's just, it's that kid in the school, in the class that, teacher, his answer was exactly not, the exact wording of the book. I really feel, I never felt this level of like, I feel that constantly. What am I saying?
No, but you're spot on. That was the thing, right? He just he makes this overall argument and case. And then, as I did say, the slip up was a bit of this big kind of, I don't know, he like slipped up with 3 words. He said the shame, and then he said on, and then he said the you. So it wasn't just like one word in there. I don't know. So I think he made a bit of
you're right. Yes.
It was a bit too much of a, I don't know, mistake. But yeah, then that fucking chucked that. But I love how I don't know any of these MSNBC people at all, because I never really watched them. CNN, I was always exposed to it a lot, but these guys, I barely know them, and I think I'm better off.
Yeah, but I'm really Monday morning, which is one of the best puns, I think, on YouTube. I love that show on Useful Idiots. They're so good. It's funny, kind of informative, I guess. If it, so and I wanted to do a bit of a highlight, if it's okay, at the end of our show.
Please. I don't specifically have anything else to really mention, so unless you do, if no, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I wanted to first say, I know some people got like, because I said I hate philosophers and all that. So, I am generalizing, I mean like mostly philosophy students. But in my own defense, I would say, I think in my defense, like David Hume, if you ever read his works, pretty much reduced philosophy, in my view, to a joke. And since then, we have all these social scientific branches that, in my view, perform the task of philosophy far better than philosophy ever could. So, but I am, of course, generalizing. There are people who are technically philosophers that I really like Cornel West, blah, blah. But yeah, I am somewhat hostile to philosophy as a discipline, because it's a very imprecise and unclear discipline. And in my view, it is somewhat archaic at this point. And Freud, by the way, had, I think, similar views. And by the way, most philosophers don't like Freud as well. And I just wanted to quote this from Freud, that Freud suggested to his audience that psychoanalytic theory can expect nothing from philosophy except that it will once again haughtily point out to us the intellectual inferiority of Aristotle. So, and I do feel like a lot of philosophy is that they look at more sophisticated social sciences, and then they do these thought experiments and do these mind palace games and get away from real issues. So that was my sort of justification for my general and somewhat idiotic comments.
No, I think it was decent, not too bad. And I don't really have, I mean, not the craziest. And yes, it was a bit of generalization. Like I told you, if we said the same thing about economists, nobody would be at our throats. But
oh yeah, lawyers.
We said philosopher. But I mean, I wasn't never too big into philosophy at all, even in university. But political philosophy classes were some of my absolute favorite. And I received them in the beginning of my like politicizing process. So, the ones where they start with Plato and all this, and they move up, through like the century, through like, the 10th century and all this, talk about those guys, and then reach Hobbes and John Locke and all these kind of things. I really used to enjoy those classes, and it leads to Marx and stuff. But that's political philosophy, which I would argue is different, and they don't do too many thought experiments. I mean, Plato, of course, he did, but that was 2000 years ago,
by the way,
or whatever. When was Plato? Did I just talk crap? Was he? when is that? From when is Plato and Socrates? And
my view has always been, I like Socrates. I mean, Socrates is we are not even sure if it was a historical figure, but I have always despised Plato, Platonic thought, Neoplatonic philosophy. It's my personal position. Nietzsche, in my view, was of the same position, and I think Plato and his metaphysics are responsible for more harm in this world than probably than most religions. But of course, there are a lot of good things in Plato as well, or a lot of things that could be built on. But I am far more, but sorry about that tangent. It's just you mentioned Plato, I had to express my objections.
No, I mean, I was never a huge Plato guy, but I mean, it started with that. I mean, I like the political philosophy that followed after that in those classes.
I think it's such a tragedy that there are two people who write about Socrates. It's Plato and Xenophon, and it's such a tragedy that Plato became the more popular one. Xenophon's writing, in my view, were far better, far superior. I'm not even
familiar with him.
Yeah, nobody's. So it's there is about 5 guys, and they're it's me, Xenophon's cousin. And Thomas Jefferson, actually, apparently was a fan. So.
Nice, good stuff. Anything else to get off your chest?
wanted to highlight this week. Have you been watching The Hill recently?
Well, recently, yeah, I restarted. Although subscribing to them again is, I'm a bit regretting it because they post all these videos and then your subscription feed is taken over. But yes, I've resubscribed to them now because I mean, after when Breaking Points, when Crystal and Sagar left, the show just had such a huge like drop, and it was a bit strange. But now they seem to have put together a decent kind of cast.
Yeah, man, I just wanted to highlight them because I really, really like the new show there. And by the way, don't go to your subscription feed, go to your home feed. And then that way you can avoid all the bullshit C-SPAN parts that I don't know what the fuck are they doing. Why do they share these C-SPAN like senator
and they don't get any views?
It's not like yeah.
So it's not like they're making money on it. Like, if they were each getting like 1 million views, I would get it, but they don't get any views, so I don't understand.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's like
make another channel then or something.
Yeah. And you're anyway. Telling someone, I believe we should have more decorum in the house. Okay, what is this? Why am I saying this? C-SPAN was for that. I mean, I don't know. Are they going after C-SPAN's like business model? I don't know. But anyways, their new man, I like the setup so much because it's like Ryan Grimm is like the dad. And then Kim Iverson is the rebel child, and Robbie Suave is the good child. Like the prodigious, the good son. And Robbie Suave, man, I think I disagree with him on most things. I think he's the right-wing guy, but he's so like good, and he's got such a good comedic timing and all that. I don't know. I don't know what you think. But I really like the new setup.
Yeah, no, I agree too. I mean, I haven't watched him that much or have a particular opinion too much on him. But I agree with you. And they've pushed that the other lady a bit out. She still comes, but the fourth one. There's also a fourth lady who sometimes pops up.
Emily, and the Federalist paper.
The weakest link, that's for sure.
Yeah, she was from the horny female Christian paper. So yeah, she was definitely the weakest link. But Robbie Suave guy, I really like, man. I kind of like if we ever do like more interviews and that type of shit, I would like to know more about what he's thinking. I'm gonna do research on him because it seems like I disagree with him on all things, but he comes across as so reasonable, and it's so weird.
No, I've gotten now you're saying that I've gotten that feeling from him too, and he's supposed to be the right wing guy, kind of, right? Like the modern kind of right wing guy. But what about Kim? What is she?
She's left. She's like Julian Assange left Jimmy Dore almost. I think. I think Ryan.
I haven't heard it that much.
Like I suppose DC sort of insider with more experience than Although I would say there has been, it's quite interesting. And that's the good thing about it. They clash, but really nicely and politely, like Iverson and Ryan Grimm. They sometimes clash and it's very polite. And I really like the whole thing.
Yeah, I just recently subscribed them too much. So maybe I have to familiarize myself a bit more with all of them, kind of, except Ryan Grimm, which been through a roller coaster of emotions with him over the past.
Don't know how to feel about you.
I like them. Other times you want to strangle him.
I need to go find myself, Ryan. My relationship with you is too volatile. It's too goddamn volatile.
Seriously. But okay. All right. Brilliant stuff. So if again we've said a bunch of crap, please point it out in the comment section. We'll
I was surprised.
Half apologize, half back up what we had said in our next video.
Yeah, next video is probably going to be another half an hour of apology and then justification and then getting criticized for the justification. Well, anyways, hope it's been fun.
Yeah, good stuff. Okay, so please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for watching. Please leave all your comments, questions, concerns, everything in the comment section down below, and we'll make sure to get to them. If not, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Bye.